How's it going, everybody? I am Donut. I am here with my fiance, Thermite Kitty.
That's me. Hello.
There he is. This is, as always, a Black Lives Matter, all cops are bastards, and trans rights supporting channel. If you're not supporting that shit, get the fuck off this channel. We are doing our discussion, retrospective, whatever the fuck you want to call it, on the Battle City arc in Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically, pre the tournament.
Yeah.
Because Takahashi himself separated those as two separate arcs. We went back and forth for a long time about whether to make this all one thing with the tournament as well. But knowing us and knowing how fucking long these end up being, we're gonna separate them because this is probably gonna be an hour by itself.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
A lot of what these discussions, retrospectives are also talking, I'm going into this just through the manga, so we talk a lot about the differences between the manga and the anime, and that takes up a lot of time. So, if we were just talking about the manga stuff, maybe we could take that. Either way, that's not important. Before we get into this, I know you have told me that I need to show this off because it's been in the background of my room for forever, since I've been doing these reactions years ago. And you kept telling me to point it out, and I kept having it, so I got my phone camera out, and I'm gonna go show it now. Okay, this is what I have. I had this on my door originally, but then I started having it closed on the door that I was using to mask the sounds and everything like that, which I don't right now, but that's why it's not on the door. It used to be on the door. I need to clarify, this is not my picture. This is my sister's boyfriend when they were using this room when I was away, had this on the door, and I just left it there. This is Seto Kaiba on a cross. Just a picture, just a glossy picture of Seto Kaiba on a cross, and I have it here just on the door on the wall because every time I leave my room I give him a little kiss. Every time. Alright, that's it. I finally showed it off. I hope you're happy now.
I'm so happy.
My
the
secret
world
has been
knows.
revealed to the world. Okay, now, speaking of Seto Kaiba, we basically start off Battle City with a very big Seto Kaiba focus. We started off with Yugi and Jonouchi in the hospital and everything like that, but don't have much to say about that.
Yeah, like that's a transition from the Dungeon Dice Monster stuff.
Yeah. It's nice seeing them, play, in the hospital, just play casually and stuff like that. I love those moments, but not really anything to say about that.
Actually, I will stop for a little bit because there is a little bit of filler between Duelist Kingdom and Battle City that I gotta note here.
Okay, before we even get into Battle City...
Of course! Hit those brakes!
Let's do it. It's also, real quick, I do want to say, I would consider, obviously there's a separation between, there's Duelist Kingdom, then Dungeon Dice Monsters, then Battle City, and then even he breaks it up with the Battle City Tournament. Versus, I do think there is credence to say that there is the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga saga, whatever you want to call it, the school saga maybe, or whatever. Yeah. Then there's the Duelist Kingdom saga, then there's the Battle City saga, and I would say that Dungeon Dice Monsters is included in that. It felt very by itself to begin with, but now having gotten into Battle City, it's a very clear prologue to that. It's setting up more of the Millennium Item stuff, more of the past of Yugi's grandpa and stuff like that. It's also introducing Ryuji into the cast, who becomes a bigger part in Battle City and stuff like that. It also sets up Bakura more as our villain again. I think Battle City is the only thing that is weird. Is it's interesting that Merrick is we wait to introduce the main villain of the saga, which isn't that weird, but I can see now that Dungeon Dice Monsters is pretty much the prologue to Battle City.
Yeah. I think there's also, it's an interesting distinction that we start off with original Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is very much about, how weird Domino is. Very specifically how weird the school is, for a lot of it. But, we branch out. We see that everyone's a little fucked up. then Duel's Kingdom is this like exodus. Like we go to another entire place that is totally different, and that's where all the Duel Monster stuff really like we had Duel Monsters before, but that's where it really kicks off. And then Battle City is like coming back home and doing like, hey, what if Domino City? But now we're focusing super hard on Duel Monsters, and like it's transforming the entire city. It is now Battle City.
That is because I thought we were going to be going somewhere else to Battle City. Like, I thought that was going to be just like, the colloquial name for the city is Battle City.
Right.
But yeah, it is interesting because, I know the whole first thing was called the School Saga and stuff like that, and but it still felt like, well, I'm sure that's just because we're focusing mostly on the school stuff, but of course the school's going to be a thing throughout most of this. Not really, actually. We haven't really done the school stuff. Like, we go to school a bit in Dungeon Dice Monsters, but that's about it. And yeah, Domino City was, we did some stuff around Domino City in the early manga as well. But yeah, I never thought about that, but it is interesting that each saga could be like a location. Like, the school, the Duel's Kingdom, and then, Domino City, essentially.
Yeah.
And then even the tournaments are like in Domino City, but apparently are going to be like cool special locations or whatever. I'm not sure. We'll see.
But yeah, so like right after they get back from Duelist Kingdom in the anime, we immediately get a two-parter that's about in chapter 1, there is a picture of Grandpa with one of his friends over in Egypt, like his old man best friend. We get
is that the guy from the Shoddy arc who was turned into a zombie and Jonouchi broke his teeth?
No, that is a separate guy.
Okay. So it's not even the same guy who was like, all of my special friends, Yugi and all that.
I mean, the fact that most of his friends were kids he just met also makes me go like, yeah, I guess that's also why you think So Goku's your best friend.
Yeah.
You're really hard up for friends.
But no, I actually don't remember who the hell was in the picture and if it was in chapter 1 and all that. I don't remember.
But yeah, we do a quick thing that is just like, here's the kid of that guy, and she wants to fight Yugi because we get the big lore reveal of her grandpa is the one who originally had the 4th Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then and grandpa stole it, and so I'm gonna beat you and take it back. And like she's a very
it's a good filler arc.
Yeah. Like, she's a very little girl, but she's extremely smart, and so we get the the hard contrast of someone who is even smaller than Yugi. Like, that's really how they build it up. It's these two grandpas who have extremely small grandchildren.
Also, was it only in the anime? I'm not seeing it in the manga. If it was in chapter 1.
Maybe it was only in the anime. I thought we had like a little picture at some point of him, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't see. I could have missed it or some of that, but or it could have been in a later chapter or something. But either way, that is an interesting idea for an arc. I do like that. Like connecting it more with Grandpa, especially because of like what we do with Dungeon Dice Monsters. I think I remember you telling me they did something very, very different. I know we just went over this in a previous video.
Oh yeah,
already forgotten.
But yeah, it's a nice little thing. It sets the scales a little lower, and it is sort of like an intro to like let's do some more stuff around Domino City. Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Yeah. Plus, there is the hard, like, him having to explain at the very end, Seto Kaiba stole the Blue Eyes White Dragon and then ripped it in half after making my grandpa experience death.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, gotta explain that. Sorry, can't give it back to you. Did they have any connection with the Millennium stuff?
Not at all.
Okay. Then, yeah, I actually really like that, too, that it's like, it's not connected to any of that stuff in Grandpa's past. It's a completely different thing. And also the fact that, like, his best friend wasn't connected to the period in which he was Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like, the conceit of this arc is also, I believe, that Yugi is using his grandpa's deck, but, like, I don't... Yeah, it obviously doesn't have Exodia in it. And the duel that the grandchildren play out is the exact same as the duel from Egypt, where the two grandfathers fought over getting the Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of being her whole deal is like, my grandpa's the best duelist in the world. There's no way your grandpa could have beat him. And we get the big no, actually, number one, how do I put it? Her grandpa did win that duel. Number two, the reason why he won that duel is because Yugi's grandpa intentionally refused to play one trap card. And that was... And the whole reason they were doing this duel wasn't for the Blue Eyes. It was for they were trapped under some ruins, and they were dueling to decide who was going to have the last drink of water.
Okay. Of course they were. Of course they were.
So, it's the double reveal of, your grandpa did win, but my grandpa let him win so he wouldn't die. And then on top of all of that, your grandpa gave my grandpa the Blue Eyes as a gift. There's only 4 of these. It's so insanely powerful and important as a card, and that shows how much they cared about each other. Also, you didn't ask your grandpa about this. You just came to Domino City to try to beat me because of this random grudge. You didn't ask first. Did you give this person the card, or did he steal it? She just immediately went, no, he stole it for sure.
This is the exact opposite of Dungeon Dice Monsters, in that, Ryuji was forced to do it because of his father.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I also love the fucking, the chadness to be I'm not gonna play this trap card so you can win and get this last drink of water. Not because I'm gonna then die, but because I'm so badass, I don't need the water. I'm still gonna live. But if you don't get that water, you're gonna die.
The ultimate gamble.
God, Grandpa's so cool.
So, swiveling over to Seto Kaiba, of course, at the end of Duelist Kingdom, he didn't become the undisputed, the greatest gamer in the world, but he also didn't lose his soul. So,
yeah.
He goes back to Kaiba Corps, he talks to the Big Five, and they're immediately all right, so, we tried to murder you, but, before you do anything, hear us out. You know that VR machine that you really, really liked? We finished that while you were over, while we were trying to kill you. Why don't you get into the VR machine and test it out?
How did they finish it? They were on an island, waiting for a child to poop. That they brought to the island to poop. I'll never get over that. That's the craziest thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! They needed this child to poop, but they brought him to an island to poop.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at the very end, they were able to make a 3D model of the key inside of him, but they didn't know that they were able to do that. Presumably, they thought of that after they brought him to the island.
Yeah. I guess the Duelist Kingdom must have had a section of the castle for R&D stuff that Pegasus was also using. I kind of assumed he would have a separate place, but if all this is happening also at Duelist Kingdom, maybe he just makes his shit there too.
Maybe. I mean, he does have an entire... It is a Duelist Kingdom. There's so much space. He's got to do something else with this place. But yeah, the Big Five tell Kaiba, alright, let's be friends, go into VR, we're not gonna fuck you over. He says, hell yeah, let's do it. He goes into VR, they sort out online him, he can't get out. And Mokuba has to go to Grandpa's shop and beg our main cast, listen, I'm so sorry, but I need your help. Kaiba got himself stuck in VR, but we have a bunch of other VR pods that the Big Five don't know about that are also complete. So can you...
that this is just a more technologically advanced fucking monster world.
It's basically the Seto Kaiba monster world.
Yeah.
Which is also a little bit helped by the fact that we don't do Monster World in the anime.
That's a good point, yeah.
So
Which is still such a shame. Such a shame.
Yeah, seriously. Like, it's a very, very good, important arc.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, it's very, very Bakura core, of course. I mean, obviously, but like, it's like even since then we haven't like, it's a facet of his personality that I feel like has been dropped that I'm a little bit sad about.
Yeah. I mean, it also makes him feel very strange in the anime because, like, the anime essentially starts with, Duelist Kingdom. And so
we've talked about that before. I don't think we need to rehash that.
Yeah. But yeah, so the main cast go into the VR booths. They essentially, the rest of the arc is just like an isekai. Like, they don't duel until, I believe, the very end, where they do a big duel against the big five. But everything else is like stuff that you end up seeing in like the opening and in a bunch of other stuff, where it's just like we have the cards, and if we hold the cards up, then the monster comes out and they just like actually fight.
Okay, that was not a metaphor in the opening. That was like this is gonna happen as an arc.
Oh yeah, that straight up happens.
Oh my god, I like it so much more as a metaphor.
You can think of it as a metaphor.
Man, I was gonna open one of my videos with that. Now I feel like this is stuff that hasn't even happened in the manga. Was Kaiba on like all the, like in the opening we see Kaiba on like all these screens and everything like that in the city? Is that real or is that a metaphor?
I think that's real. That might have been like when he does the announcement for for Battle City rather.
Okay, I was thinking like in the VR thing, like he was like this was being portrayed across all the city.
Oh. Sadly, no.
But so they are like they're not dueling, but it's still like they're playing with the cards and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's
That's
set up
sad, but
yeah, it's set up like an RPG. Like Jonouchi is, I believe, the barbarian. He's like wearing a skin and a skull on his head, and Yugi's like a warrior, and he's got like a warrior outfit, and Mokuba's the princess.
Yugi's a warrior?
Oh yeah, he's a warrior. He's not a magician. He's not a beast tamer.
It is so weird to me, but we got okay. We'll talk about that when we get there. I'll hold off on that, but when we get to the stone tablet, I'll talk about that. But yeah, anything else in this filler?
Oh right, I
will say before you go on, I do think it is again it's something that I don't know if we needed in the manga, but once you said it, it made me go like, oh yeah, we never like finished that plot line. Like the whole Big Five thing just kind of went nowhere, which it doesn't need to go anywhere because like assumingly he would just go back and they would say sorry for trying to kill you and he would say whatever and just go along with it again. Like what else would he do, especially now that Pegasus is dead, so he's not having the partnership there. So like if he also then got rid of all the Big Five, his company would probably immediately go under. So
yeah, especially because he's, again, not the biggest gamer anymore.
Yeah. And yeah, not even close. Like, I mean, he didn't even make it to the tournament, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't think about that, but that really also hasn't really affected him that much, Like, I would expect that to affect him more, but it really hasn't affected him. Like, one, I would expect it to affect him more personally, but I would also expect it to affect him financially and how people react to Battle City and him announcing it and stuff like that. Like, really, you're making this tournament?
Yeah. I feel like, how do I put this? The revelation of Obelisk, I think, really gave him a second wind. Like, that became his immediate obsession of this, this god card makes me the best. And even if no one knows about the god card, like, he doesn't flex it. It's not, as big of an icon thing as, like, his blue eyes.
Yeah.
But, like, it gives him a lot of personal, like, motivation. It makes him go, like, hell yeah, this is so good. I love it. I'm the very best. And once I get all the god cards, I'll be the very best for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But like, even before he gets that card, I would have liked to see more like angst from him or something.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that.
And Also, it's something that I haven't really thought. Like I didn't even realize Pegasus was dead until a bit into Battle City when we got to Esperoba. But also in that, Jonouchi doesn't react to, Roba saying, like, I'm taking Pegasus's, his ghost is helping me and something. Like, he didn't, react to that in any way. So they know that Pegasus is dead. Which is like, what is the circumstances around that in terms of like the public knowledge and stuff like that? Pegasus creates this tournament, and then in the tournament, he, like, after the tournament, at some point, whatever, he gets his eye ripped out, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And nobody really... Also, Bandit Keith is a very famous person. He was shot in the head there. Like, what is people's reaction to Pegasus having his eye ripped out and dying, and Bandit Keith being shot to death?
It's honestly more surprising that, like, Ryuji's the only person we see who just straight up says, Yugi, you killed Pegasus. Like,
Which, well, to be, that's in the anime only, right? Did he say anything like that in the manga? I didn't figure out that Pegasus was dead until Battle City.
In the manga, he just phrases it as, like, he was collaborating with Pegasus, and then he couldn't anymore once Yugi won Duel's Kingdom. Like, the implication is, that's because he died. But they don't state it.
It feels almost like it was supposed to not be known that Pegasus was dead, and then he changed his mind when we got to Roba.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, I think the implication was definitely supposed to be that, as a reader, you were supposed to go, oh, Pegasus is dead. Like, you were supposed to know that in Duel's Kingdom. I was an idiot, and I didn't know that. But also, I think that's because I know how much people talk about Pegasus and stuff like that, so I was assuming that he was going to be around for a lot longer.
This actually goes into one other big thing that I wouldn't have brought up until you pointed out, but it is actually extremely big.
Is it that Pegasus is alive in the anime?
Only in the anime.
I had a sneaking suspicion of something, because I was like, but at the same time I was like, maybe not, because, I heard 99% of what I heard about Yu-Gi-Oh! Was Duel's Kingdom stuff. So, that made me go like, okay, maybe that's just also why I hear so much about Pegasus. Yeah.
But yeah, like, because of that, it doesn't impact the actual canon stuff at all, I think. But, like, the filler stuff and, like, the movies definitely do, like, or, like, some of the anime-only stuff in the, like, the future anime, like, that stuff will bring up, like, hey, Pegasus was, is alive, not that he never died, because why would you bring that up like that?
But yeah, I get it, because, like, Pegasus is definitely a lot of, like, missed potential for a character, in a way where I do think, like, it's not a bad thing to kill off a character who still has plenty of potential. That is the point. It was extremely shocking when I was like, oh, Pegasus actually is dead. Like, I can't believe he would kill off a character that had that much potential, that much. Clearly, the fans loved him, and, was super cool. A big, like, a third, like, powerhouse on the level of Yugi and Kaiba. And then to kill him off is crazy. And so I can see why the anime is like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We can get so much money out of this guy.
Like, he can just you can just portray him, and then people will go, oh, Pegasus!
Yeah. So I totally get why they wouldn't, why they wouldn't kill him in the anime. But I'm glad he is in the manga, because I think that's a very powerful thing to do. But I can understand, because he is, that is wasted potential. Again, it sounds bad to say that. It sounds like, oh, it's bad writing if you kill a character with good potential. But that's not true. That's the point.
Yeah, it's like, anything bad happening in a series, it is that simultaneous, ow, that hurts, but also it's the point that it hurts.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm not that surprised that he's alive in the anime, because it was a sneaking suspicion, but... it still is, it's not that surprising because I can understand why, I guess. But yeah, okay, go back into whatever filler we were talking about before Battle City, or...
Oh yeah, the VR stuff.
Yeah. Or is there anything past the VR stuff?
Oh, there's a little more stuff after the VR stuff, but...
Okay, let's get into it. Or if you want to... Whatever. Continue with what you want to say.
But yeah, the only final important notes are Kaiba's super pissed that Mokuba let him in. Also, I said before that the princess is Mokuba. That's not true. Kaiba made a princess that is exactly Mokuba, who is a separate person. Because, I don't know, that's how he sees his brother. Gets real mad that they had to save him. They fight the Big Five. The Big Five turn into a 5-headed dragon. They kill the Big Five. They don't kill the Big Five, but they trap them in VR forever.
Okay! See, now that's an opposite Pegasus. I don't know why they would do that when there's so much potential for the Big Five in the anime. Mm-hmm. They do so much with them. You're getting rid of Crump.
Everyone loves Crump.
Crump and Lecter and Gambit or...
But yeah.
I can't get over the Big Five. I can't get over they all have their own songs and everything. The Big Five. I have used their songs so much because their songs are so good.
Their songs bang.
Their songs are fucking bangers. Absolutely. Nesbitt's song is so good.
Well, they're not dead. You know, they're in VR. Who knows?
They're not dead. They're just in VR forever. Okay.
So
5 old businessmen being trapped in a VR world forever is so fucking funny. The worst people to be trapped in VR, they're going to have the worst time of their lives.
They also have the interesting strategy of, as I said, they turn into a 5-headed dragon, which is also their ace monster. And I don't quite remember what the logic was behind it, but, you know, they duel Yugi and Kaiba. So it is like, you know, Yugi and Kaiba dueling side by side versus one deck, essentially, because the 5-headed dragon just has one deck, but all 5 of them are making the decisions on how to play the cards. So it's a real, like, I don't know why this is better.
Again, you're telling me 5 old businessmen got together and decided on each card they were going to play, and I'm supposed to be surprised they lost.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, the way it's set up is like, oh, the 5-headed dragon has all the elements except for lights, and Yugi uses dark monsters, and Kaiba's Blue Eyes is lights, but it's only 3,000 attack points, so it can't hurt them. And then they go, oh, well, what if Blackluster Soldier rides on top of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon? Then it'll have 5,000 attack points, then it'll blow you up, and then they kill him like that.
Does seem like a cool move.
It's very dope.
Oh, yeah? I'm a fan of Yugi riding Kaiba.
So, this is the last really weird thing before we get into Battle City proper, which is, as I said during Dungeon Dice Monsters before, they cut out the whole, card shop.
Burning building.
Yeah, the burning building and Mr. Clown. We do Dungeon Dice Monsters. It's a little more sanitized. Jonouchi's a furry. Yugi wins him back.
So wait, that doesn't happen. So the Dungeon Dice Monsters happens after the VR thing.
Yes.
Okay.
And then after Dungeon Dice Monsters, Yugi gets like lured out to an abandoned building, and he duels a rare hunter, and. So this rare hunter ends up
a unique one, not the one from Battle City, like the first one.
Yeah, it's not the one from Battle City. Yeah. Okay. It is, in fact, Bandit Keith.
Okay, so he is a rare hunter. Well, I mean, we knew he was. Okay.
Yeah. He was.
Keep going. Explain this to me first before I get into my thing.
The way the anime has it is he was a prize hunter, but not a rare hunter. But also in the anime, instead of being shot in the head, I believe what happens. No. Like Keith, how do I put this? Pegasus is like looking down upon everyone as they do their duels. After Keith loses his duel, he like shows up behind Pegasus and tries to shoot him in front of everyone. Then Pegasus uses a penalty game to make him think he shot himself, but instead he falls backwards into a chute, and the chute's like he falls down the chute and he flies out of Duelist Kingdom and falls into the ocean.
Some fucking Willy Wonka ass shit.
And so in this arc, we then get a flashback to that, where we see that Merrick's rare hunters were there in the ocean, and they rescue him, and then he gets brainwashed by the Millennium Rod.
That's a missed opportunity to have it be Ryota Kajiki who got him out.
Oh, that would have made sense.
It would have been so much better. And then you could have had that, be connected to the Battle City thing as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, that would have been fucking crazy if it was like, Bandit Keith killed my father. I thought it was the ocean, but it was Bandit Keith.
Oh, no.
Because then Jonouchi would also be like, I fought Bandit Keith. I know that guy. Also, I do like that the anime version of this does imply that Bandit Keith just had a gun on him for the entire Duelist Kingdom thing. Because in the manga, he shoots him. I don't know how it happens, because Pegasus might have made him just think he shot himself, but there was blood. There was blood, so he turns his hand into a gun and then makes him shoot himself. But there is blood, and people react to it like he died. So I don't know.
Yeah, don't know.
Like, it could have just been that he makes him think his hand is a gun, and we don't see the gun shoot. So maybe he makes his hand poke into his head, and that is what the blood was, or something. Otherwise, I don't know how that works.
I've never actually heard anyone say that, but that would make sense if it was just, he stabs himself in the head.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody has enough strength to push their own finger through their head, but I mean, think your finger would break, but maybe not.
I mean, you can be strong enough to take a die and throw it through a teenager's head, so it's probably possible.
That's true. Anything's possible if you believe hard enough. You believe in the heart of the finger.
But yeah, the duel itself isn't super interesting. The main thing is, just this is yet another, before he's even introduced in any way, another, Merrick possessing someone and then fighting Yugi and then losing because he's bad at dueling.
Yeah, that's it. It's so weird that comes up. So they introduced the rare hunters before they introduced Merrick or the tablet or any of that stuff.
Yeah, it is... Right, the way we intro to this is actually Bandit Keith in a rare hunter cloak, pretending to be a fortune teller. And so when Yugi tries to get his fortune told, he grabs the Millennium Puzzle and then runs all the way to this abandoned warehouse, where then he challenges Yugi to a duel.
What card was he trying to get?
Not a card, the Millennium Puzzle.
Wait, but then why did he lure him to somewhere then? Did he just stop running because Yugi caught him? Or why did he steal the puzzle and lure him to the building if he wanted the puzzle? Why didn't he just keep running?
I'm pretty sure the way they phrase it is just Merrick wanted to gauge Yugi's strength, and they have to go to the warehouse because this is pre-dual discs, so this warehouse has a an old school Duelist Kingdom style projector thing in there where they can duel.
Yeah. A duel box or duel arena like they had in the anime, I assume.
Yeah, and also from a narrative sense, it's also so Keith can use a nail and hammer the puzzle into the side of one of those dueling things, so that they can then do the ending of Dungeon Dice Monsters that they didn't do before, where at the end of the duel, Bandit Keith freaks out and accidentally sets the entire place on fire, and then Jonouchi has to come save Yugi.
Yeah, how did Jonouchi find out about this?
You know how it is.
He just shows up. I don't if it was Yugi I understand, because the Millennium Puzzle has a sort of points you in the direction of where you're needed sort of thing. Maybe also teleporting, I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't actually remember how they get there, because Bakura, again, all the stuff from the very end of Dungeon Dice Monsters happens here. So Bakura does find where Yugi is, and he shows up and he gives him a pep talk and all that, and this is when he puts the his spirit energy into the puzzle piece instead of in Dungeon Dice Monsters.
So does Bandit Keith put the puzzle back together?
No, the way it works is Bandit Keith smashes it, and No. Right. They give Bakura a lot of extra powers in the anime. Like last time I described how...
I mean, he had a laser beam that he fired at fucking Pegasus, so...
Oh, yeah. I mean, Pegasus counters with his own laser beam. That's just the thing they could do in that one time. But yeah, Bakura can sever the connection between the Millennium Rod and Keith. So he does that, and that's what causes him to, like, freak out, smash the puzzle, and then set everything on fire, instead of, like, trying to put the puzzle back together and then being affected by it.
I will say... there is credence towards that in the manga, in that Bakura has a, like, you know, where I'm at right now, it hasn't fully been explained, and maybe not will be explained, who knows. But Merrick tries to brainwash Bakura, but he can only brainwash Bakura. He can't brainwash Dark Bakura.
You know what?
But
that's fair.
They don't say that. Like, they don't say, I can only brainwash the normal Bakura, not Dark Bakura. He just says, like, oh, my brainwashing doesn't really work on him the same way it does on everybody else.
Right.
And my implication of that is, oh, so on Millennium, you know, people, or people with two, you know, souls, essentially, you can only brainwash one of them. It's kind of how I took that. But it could also be that he has power to, you know, unhook that brainwashing from people. Maybe, you know, that is just a power that he has.
That is possible.
I mean, he is the thief. So he might be able to steal the power away, essentially, rip it away.
Yeah, that does make sense.
And his whole thing was also putting souls into pieces of things.
Yeah. It would make sense that, like, you know, if each item can kind of do what all the others can, but it, like, has a specialty, it would make sense for his to be the, like, the soul-moving thing, even if they can all kind of do it a bit.
Yeah. Because, yeah, we've talked about that plenty of times in the past. Like, all the money items seem to kind of be able to do what... They all seem to have the same abilities, but then they each specialize in one.
Yeah. I do like the idea of there being, like, a hierarchy there of, you know, you can do the thing, but I can do it a bit better, so you can't mess with me there.
Like, yeah, I think, yeah, in that sense, Merrick can brainwash people. Bakura can't brainwash people, but he can... put their soul into a thing, and then that kind of makes them very confused. It's a little bit like brainwashing, like with the gym teacher and everything like that in the Monster World. And again, we've seen Shoddy be able to do that as well.
Yeah, like rearranging the house in your soul.
And also, you know, making the guy a zombie. And again, it's not quite the same. They're not fully brainwashing them to be able to do whatever they want. But they are able to lightly brainwash them.
Yeah, like, it's a totally different level from, it blows me away every time. Merrick, like, you know, riding a motorcycle dangerously throughout Domino City and also simultaneously dueling. It's so insane.
It's fucking crazy, yeah.
But yeah, I will also say for your, you know, your other possibility that's because they have two souls, that would also fit with the fact that, like, Pegasus could only, like, read the mind of whoever was on, you know, whoever was, like, fronting with Yugi and Dark Yugi. And when the other one went in, like, the soul is still there, but he just couldn't see anything.
That's a good point, yeah. So yeah, there's definitely, like, the two souls aspect of it is probably more likely what it is, but I will, you know, play devil's advocate and say that there is credence that it could be, you know, that for Bakura. But either way, so okay, that's how, you know, Bakura and Jonouchi were there and everything like that. So, yeah, the fact that Banded Keith, like, they introduce him as a rare hunter, and they introduce these rare hunters, like, before America or anything like that, off the top of your head, like, what did we know from this encounter? Because this is almost like a foreshadowing for Battle City.
Yeah. Yeah, all we really get is just, like, I believe we do specifically see the, like, the Eye of Wadjet on Keith's head, like, when he gets, like, fully taken over. So it's definitely just setting up, like, there's someone out there who has a Millennium item, and they have mind control abilities, and, you know, like, that's the main thing they really set up with this. Just, like, there is another faction out there, but there's no guess as to, like, what they want or anything. Just, you know, for some reason they're antagonistic towards Yugi. Yeah?
Okay, and so they were only trying to get the puzzle, not a card. Is interesting.
Yeah.
The rare hunters are not trying to get Millennium items, but it fits in with, like, the whole thing they're doing is to try and kill Yugi. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, it's very interesting that he wouldn't just take his puzzle and then just have Bandit Keith shoot him with his gun.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I get, like, because Merrick, there's the duelist stuff going into it, too. But for the most part, Merrick just wants to kill him. It's not like he wants to beat him at Duel Monsters specifically. It's just, that's the way to kill him with the God cards.
Yeah.
But... yeah, so it's just that as filler falls a little bit flat. It doesn't fully make sense, but
yeah, like I think it works in a like testing your strength sort of situation, but the fact that the manga doesn't need to do that shows that this isn't necessary. Like any time in any series, like a fodder villain attacks the main characters and then their boss goes, "Oh, I just did that to test their strength." It's like, what if you just sent a better person? Like, what if you just did your plan and that would also test their strength instead of like, what information did you get from this besides he's good at card games?
Yeah, like, back in Duel's Kingdom, we talked about that with Pegasus. Like, he was, like, testing Yugi's strength. Or, if they defeated Yugi, it would be like, well, they defeated Yugi, and they were under me, so I won, sort of bullshit. But, with this, it doesn't make sense, because in the manga, Merrick is trying to kill him at every point. He has never at any point been testing his strength. Every time he goes up against a ghoul or these people... Merrick is fully expecting him to die there.
Yeah.
And it was when all they failed that he went, fuck it, I guess I gotta do this myself. It wasn't a, like, I'm having you face them before me. It was, I'm just going to have them kill you because I don't want to get my hands dirty. And then him going, fine, I guess I'll fucking do it myself.
Yeah.
Especially, Yugi versus Jonouchi is the most clear example of, like, he wanted Yugi to die there. He was so pissed that he didn't die. And it wasn't a, like, well, now I'll be able to take you on myself. It was he was actually furious that he didn't die.
Yeah, like, it's the opposite from what a lot of other characters have. Like, a lot of characters have some level of nobility or some feeling of, well, I want to do it like this. Whereas, like, Merrick is special for having no desire to do the, like, I want to beat you in order to get the cred or whatnot. It is the specific, I'm just doing this in a dirty, bad way. I just want to kill you.
Even in the tournament now, he's still using dirty tricks of, like, I'm going to pretend that Rishid is Merrick and I'm, just some random guy.
Not even that. Like, I'm your friend because I saved your friends. Yeah, like, so, no one else would do that. I mean, Bakura would, but he's different.
Bakura's just built different.
Narratively, actually, this also... like, again, because the puzzle never gets smashed or taken away in Dungeon Dice Monsters, this is also, like, how do I put this? Like, in the anime, Dungeon Dice Monsters is entirely Dark Yugi, whereas this is the big, like, oh, now we're going to see just Yugi doing a duel, or, just a game in general. Like, this is our big testing to see if he's good or not, and that doesn't really line up with Merrick's motivation. Like, he doesn't give a shit. But, narratively, it's not as good as if they had just done Dungeon Dice Monsters.
Yeah.
I understand. Like, based on the fact that they split it up, I get why they did it, kind of, and, it's okay, but it's just not that good. Like, even down to the fact that this is just a random-ass warehouse that's on fire, as opposed to this gigantic game shop with a big old clown on it. Like, it's such a spectacle, and it is this thing connected to a character, and, that character's, like, the vengeance is represented by the flame, and it's all burning down, whereas this is just, oh, this place is burning down.
Yeah, if they want it, I would have it be just do the Dungeon Dice Monsters thing, and then if you want to have a separate filler arc with Bandit Keith, I think that would be totally fine, and it would also be a precursor for the Rare Hunters. But making him a Rare Hunter is, I think, the bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Okay, is that all of our filler pre-Battle City?
The last little thing I'll say, which I'm not going to focus on very much, is just they also expand the Johnny Steps / Step Johnny duel, thing with Anzu. Yeah, they just add a second layer after that, where he gets super pissy, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna challenge your boyfriend to a duel," and then he duels Dark Yugi.
Stop! They ruined it.
Yeah, because like they bookend it with like, he talks more about his backstory and how he failed as a dancer, and Anzu's like Anzu gets to have the ending of just stating directly to him like, that doesn't mean your shit's over. You can try harder. I failed way more than you have, but I'm still chasing my dreams. Like, it's good, but it really feels like this obligatory A, we want to do a Duel Monsters duel. B, for some reason we don't want Anzu to have a Duel Monsters duel, even though
she duels in the anime.
Yeah, like she had a really good duel with Mai in Duel's Kingdom, so they very clearly were okay with doing that. For whatever reason here, they just didn't. And yeah, it's so weird because it would have made more narrative sense as well for it to be, they have the date situation. She beats Johnny at DDR, and then he's like, "Oh, I want a rematch, but this time it's Duel Monsters," and then she beats him again.
Yeah, that would have been much better. And also, I want to clarify, I did say that she duels in the anime. I know she duels in the manga too, but we never had an arc with her dueling, is what I mean.
Yeah, that's definitely also just, missed potential there.
Mm-hmm. It is, but I can also, like, she's not, I think it's cool, honestly, to have, like, I'm torn between it. I want to duel with her, but I also like having this character who does duel, but is not interested in being a duelist.
That's fair.
Like, she's just like, yeah, I like playing the card game. That doesn't mean I want to be in these tournaments and I'm, trying to be the best in the world and all this shit. It's like, no, I'm just kind of playing and still beating Jonouchi's ass. If I was in these tournaments, I'd probably do just incredibly good. But I'm just, like, playing casually, beating Jonouchi's ass.
Yeah, I can see that.
The fact that Jonouchi has beaten fucking, like, Bandit Keith and all these, like, powerful people, and yet Anzu still kicks his ass every time. It's so funny. But yeah, now I really like the whole dance thing in the manga, like in color as well. It looks beautiful. It's so nice. And yeah, I just really like having Anzu get this like nice focus there for a chapter, and her and Yugi just going on this date was very fun in general.
Yeah, like I really like that chapter for also being this like emotional rest moment. It is this moment where like Dark Yugi's very clearly like upset about this situation. He doesn't know what to do, and this is not a hard here's the answer like resolution. It's genuinely like it feels very true to life. It is the two of them going out and just taking their mind off things, and her just like giving her opinion, and it's not a fix. It is just a like, this is what this is my opinion on this matter.
Yeah, and the fact that it's like Dark Yugi and Anzu specifically like creates this very interesting perspective that we never really got with them. And it helps come to terms with a lot of that like love triangle thing we've been doing with Anzu Yugi, Dark Yugi sort of thing. Yeah, I'd call it a love triangle because it's more like a circle, but
it's you're not wrong. It is a love circle.
Like the kind of there's not really a like oh, I don't like this person part of it. It's just kind of like it's an internal love triangle. They think it's a love triangle, but it's not.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But yeah, going from that, then we also have like the Kaiba match against a machine. Again, don't have much to say about that, but it's just a cool concept to be like training with this AI machine like a fucking chess game.
Yeah, I rereading that chapter made me go like, okay, this is part of why in Duelist Kingdom there is like the tribute rule at all, because in that fight they're still using the Duelist Kingdom rules, and Kaiba can just play Obelisk with no real setup or anything. It's an immediate like, oh, this is insanely broken. Yeah. This is horrifying. You can't have this in a tournament. He's just going to immediately show up and immediately kill you in one strike.
Yeah, the summoning rules are such a like, I finally get the game now. I finally understand it. Summoning is still that is still a major part of the game, right? Like, yeah, it's introduced here in Battle City, but that is how the game is actually played, correct?
Yeah, like in the game it's more called tribute summoning, to like do one or two sacrifices to get a bigger level monster out.
Okay.
Like, there's a bunch of other summonings,
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, it's a great, like, the game did not work because it didn't have mana. Like, just not having a resource to play your cards in general was it's extremely hard to make any game work like that. You have to have a separate system to prevent stuff. And so tribute summoning is a great way to do that. And I'm sure that it's way harder to fucking what am I trying to say? Way harder to not make broken, to balance is what I was trying to say.
Oh yeah.
I imagine that's insanely harder to balance because there's way less metrics. Like, there's way less wiggle room. So yeah, I can imagine that's, still an issue, but it is like, it's finally playable.
Yeah. Like, in a greater sense, I would describe the resource system of Yu-Gi-Oh! As being the cards. Like, just the literal concept of whether it is tributing, which is, you're putting out cards and then getting rid of them to get a bigger card out, or if it is something more like, discard a card or get rid of a card from your deck or any of that stuff. It's very unique amongst card games for that very specific, like, you can just keep going as long as you have cards, and those cards interact with other cards. But also, you don't want to have a giant deck because you want to be able to get the right stuff at the right time, but also you don't want to just deck yourself out.
I mean, that's every card game.
I mean,
every card game cards are the resources.
I suppose so. I guess
card economy is like everything in every card game. It can be more important in some than others, but
Yeah, I would say, like, if we have sliders determining what is important, like, just card economy / cards existing is just maximum of importance in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, that's why draw one card is the most broken shit in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And you can't have it. Whereas in other card games, it's like, yeah, you can just draw 7 in Magic, and that's fine, because there's only so much you can do with those cards.
I mean, and Magic still has, like, sacrificing this creature to bring out this creature and, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, it's just, it's not the only way to get your cards out, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now I can finally understand how the game is playable. Finally.
Oh, yeah, like, this isn't strictly true, because there are some rules in Duel's Kingdom, but A, they never explain them, B, they contradict each other a lot. Like,
they change every duel.
Like, people think of Battle City as being, when rules come into Yu-Gi-Oh! Just in general.
Yeah.
That's when it resembles a card game at all, let alone the actual card game.
And then, to be fair, even, like, we'll get into it more, but, like,
of course,
there is one arc in Battle City specifically, which just hard goes back to Duel's Kingdom rules, and then we go back to Battle City rules.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure everybody knows what we're talking about, but we'll get to that when we get to that. I mean, well, I guess, do we want to get into our first, actual arc thing? Or, I mean, I guess we could just keep talking a little bit more about the prologue, which is that the rare hunters go after Jonouchi and take his red eyes, and then Yugi has to go up against that person to get the red eyes back, but he doesn't give it to Jonouchi. There's not a lot to say about those duels, but, like, the plot around it and stuff like that. Like, that's also why, like, I think the Bandit Keith duel in the anime is it doesn't quite work, because then it's not as shocking when Jonouchi gets attacked, for his cards, so.
Yeah, the feeling is different. It feels more like, okay, this, like, now we're getting back to the plot, as opposed to, holy crap, what is happening here? Because also, like, the rare hunter having Exodia is such a hard flex of, they have, the best cards, and they can, like, make illegal, like, they can illegally print, like, 3 of any cards they want. It's this immediate flex of, like, they can just have whatever they want and how many, whatever quantity they want. Whereas Bandit Keith's deal before this was still, like, oh, he just has tons of cards. Like, he has all those different decks. Like, it's not that shocking when he has a really good deck. It's just like, oh, yeah, this is Bandit Keith, right? It's.
And I will say, Battle City has once again proven that Pegasus is just the worst fucking card designer and game designer on Earth. He makes so many awful cards that, like, like, why were there cards in the first place who would just deal direct damage to the players? Like, what? There's no counter to it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just take damage directly to the player. What the fuck?
Like, it's only somewhat, survivable in Battle City because they play with 4,000. But, like, if we assume the game usually goes with 2,000, like, in the world, then a card whose main ability is just does 1,000 points of direct damage is the most broken thing in existence. Like, I get why it's illegal. I don't know why he made it.
It's... I don't know. Pegasus is also the fact that it's illegal is so funny. Like, it's such a distinction between banned and it's illegal. You will be arrested if you use this card.
It's a strong distinction because, like, Kaiba made the rules for the tournament. If he wanted, if he said it as, I banned those in the tournaments, you wouldn't think about it. It's the fact that he specifically goes, those cards are illegal, makes you think, why? How is dude, are the cops going to kill Jonouchi? What is happening here?
Not, like, Kaiba didn't say they were illegal. Pegasus said they were illegal. Like, they were illegal not in Battle City, but in general. But he did make them first. So it's like, why would you make this damn fucking card? What's wrong with you?
Well, there's some connection to ancient Egypt, so I don't know. Maybe the ancient Egyptians were like, you have to make this card that does 1,000 points of direct damage.
God damn it.
I mean, how connected these cards are to ancient Egypt and what is, what Pegasus is creating, it's ambiguous. I don't know if the ancient Egyptian sculptors made a hieroglyph of a barrel dragon or not, but they might have. We don't know.
Some insane predictions. If the fucking Egyptians designed Dark Magician Girl.
Oh.
Okay, I think now that we are an hour into this fucking discussion, we can start talking about Battle City.
Oh.
We are bad. We are bad at doing discussions. Or we're too good. I don't know if we're too bad or too good.
One or the other.
Okay. Is there any filler before we get to fucking what was the first actual duel we get? I guess Jonouchi versus Roba.
Yes, that's the first one. And there's no filler there. Don't worry. There's not a ton of filler after this point.
Really? I'm surprised. I would expect this arc to have the most amount of filler. Because this arc definitely felt very quick. Despite not being quick, it's quite a lot of chapters and everything like that. And, if you were reading this week by week, it would have taken a long time. But binging through it, it's so damn, there's actually barely any fucking, games compared to Duel's Kingdom.
Yeah. It's honestly very shocking that, as you said, it's very, very swift. Same with Duel's Kingdom being, this thing that takes place over an entire island, we just see a sliver of it. Battle City is a city's worth of stuff, and, in the anime, we do see, side things of, random duelists fighting for, a second or two. But we don't have a whole lot of just straight-up filler duels, and the ones we do get are very short.
I actually think rather than tackling this duel by duel, I kind of just want to tackle, all of our duels once the Battle City actually starts, after, Yugi gets the red eyes black and all that.
Okay.
But, from there to before Yugi versus Jonouchi, I kind of just want to talk about all as one sort of chunk there. The Battle City chunk. Because it's kind of what it is. I don't have a whole lot to talk about each duel separately, but I like how we keep going between Jonouchi and, some other goofy kind of contestant. And... I mean, it's really Jonouchi versus a contestant, and then it's Yugi versus the hunters. But that creates this very nice dynamic where we get these ebb and flows, these highs and lows of, very plot-centric battle, very character-centric battle, big danger, big fun.
Yeah. Something I find just very fascinating about the construction of Battle City is, the original, Duelist Kingdom does have a bit of that with, some Yugi duels, some Jonouchi duels, and, like, Kaiba's whole plots, but, it's more uneven. Whereas this is a very clear, Kaiba is the semi-antagonist in the sense that, this entire thing is his big plan to get the God cards, but we don't focus too much on him, until he, works with Yugi.
I wouldn't say he's the antagonist, though. I would say he's a separate protagonist. Like, he is approached by Ishizu Ishtar to be the protagonist.
That's fair. I was thinking
she is approaching him as the hero to, get the God cards and prevent Merrick from getting them.
That's a fair point. Yeah, Yugi, Kaiba, and Jonouchi all have, separate protagonist plot lines that you can jump through, whether it is Kaiba's quest to be, assemble all the God cards and, defeat the Rare Hunters, whether it is Yugi doing the, quote-unquote main storyline that is directly fighting Merrick over and over and over again, or whether it is Jonouchi, trying to assemble all of this courage to then give to his sister, and also be a good enough duelist that he can properly fight Yugi.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't even say it as you said it. I would say it as Kaiba is getting the God cards in order to defeat the Rare Hunters. And then also be the best player and, use that for monetary gain and fame and all that stuff, probably. But primarily it is, to defeat Merrick. His main goal is to defeat Merrick. To defeat the Rare Hunters in general. Versus Yugi, that has now become a part of his goal, but his main goal is to get back my memories, which is, he needs the God cards to be able to do that.
Right.
But he's not even that, I'm gonna, fight Merrick. Even now as we're getting into the tournament, he's not really that, invested in that at all. It's just a thing that's gonna happen, but it's not something that he's, waiting for. Versus Kaiba is the one, it's when Rishid appears and they go oh, that's Merrick, Yugi's reaction is just oh, that's Merrick. And Kaiba's that's Merrick, I'm gonna take down Merrick, I'm gonna, defeat Merrick. He's the one who's way more invested in taking down Merrick. And then, again, Jonouchi is, his sister and stuff.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. As Kaiba himself says, when Dark Yugi just directly says why he's doing this, and that's about his memories, Kaiba's response is something along the lines of, you might be doing it for, the memories of the past, but then I will take the glory of the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think that fits very well.
Yeah, honestly, Kaiba is doing it for a very selfish reason, but also, Yugi's doing it for the most selfish reason. Even though Kaiba's is more morally wrong because he's probably going to use it for monetary gain and fame and all this stuff, but we don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
So it's,
Kaiba's just extremely villain-coded, intentionally by himself. The whole talk with Ishizu is such a clear, he's doing something good, he's doing the right thing, but he has to frame it as, I'm gonna take your God card, and I'm not giving it back, and I'm gonna take all of them as well. But there's nothing bad about it, he's just like that.
And Ishizu is not stupid. She knows what she's doing. She knows she's going to Kaiba because she knows that he's going to do the good thing in the end.
Yeah.
And so I trusted Kaiba too. But so I really like having Yugi's goal in this be a very selfish goal. Not in a necessarily bad way, but just in it literally is selfish. It literally is for himself.
The problem of selfishness, the reason why selfishness is a bad thing is because you are usually depriving someone else of something. That's why morally it's not a good thing. But there is no moral badness to this kind of selfishness.
I mean, there is in a sense of it, because it's a catch-22, because, it's bad for Yugi to die, but if Yugi doesn't die, Merrick and his family will stay cursed forever.
Right. There is that added layer, actually, of, from his perspective, he doesn't really know what's going on with Merrick's whole situation.
Yeah.
Merrick has a good justification for what is going on, but he hasn't said anything about that besides, the most generic, stuff that you wouldn't take seriously.
And even then, as an audience, we still don't know. Is the curse literal, or is it just something that he is following out of obligation? like, it could just be like it's a curse because, like, well, I'm not gonna not do it. That would be, throwing my pride away. That would be the worst thing I could do. So it is a curse because I have to do it, even if there's not like some rule of the universe that's forcing me to.
Yeah.
But again, that would be like well, then I'm not on your side to kill Yugi. But if it is like a literal curse where he is actually cursed, the universe forces him into whatever the curse is, even, and we don't even really know that fully. Like, yeah, because it was to, like, guard the graves and everything, but they're not doing that right now. So, like, what the hell's going on? We don't know all the answers yet.
Yeah.
But, like, there is argument to be made that he would be depriving somebody of something if he wins and gets the God cards, but at the expense of him dying, so it's not a great alternative.
Yeah, it's the morality problem of, A, do you understand, like, what your actions are accomplishing? And then, is it immoral if you don't know that, by eating this meat, you are then contributing to all these other problems in the world?
I mean, it is just a simple, like, is it immorally wrong for you to not let yourself be killed to save this family?
Yeah.
Or, like, save generations upon generations of people. But it's like, it's a jolly problem, You're weighing one life versus multiple lives. What's more, it's all, person by person. I would certainly never kill myself for a generation of people. Fuck them.
Crossing my fingers and hoping you're not an Egyptian pharaoh.
Fuck them kids. They're gonna stay cursed forever. But yeah, I like the ebb and flow, Jonouchi and Yugi duels, and, like, especially because it's so plot focused when we get our Yugi duels, as opposed to in Duel's Kingdom, as we talked about, we got Yugi duels, we got Jonouchi duels, but they weren't a very clear, Jonouchi is fun and Yugi is the plot. Some Yugi duels were fun, some Jonouchi duels were plot, it was all over the place. And honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of plot going on in the mini duels in Duel's Kingdom.
Yeah. It was just sort of a... Yeah, sorry.
Just versus in Battle City, we are getting, like, we are moving the plot further with each, Yugi duel. I would put it as, like, JoJo Part 3 versus JoJo Part 5, in terms of Part 3 of JoJo, each of the stand battles aren't really advancing the plot and are just kind of, a stand battle before we get to our main place. And that's kind of how Duel's Kingdom was. We're just doing these duels to get to the tournament. Versus this was Jonouchi was doing the duels to get to the tournament, but we were doing the... And to be fair, even in that, we're learning about Pegasus. We're learning about Ryota's past. And even in that Ryota duel, we were learning about the Bakura teaming up with Merrick stuff. Like, even in those duels, we're still moving the plot forward. And the Yugi ones are, like, directly moving the plot forwards as, Part 5, every duel was also moving the main plot forward as well.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, that's how I would, add the, like, I don't know where I was trying to go with the sentence, but that's how I would compare these two.
Yeah, I get that.
And we also had some people from the past come back that didn't necessarily, like, we didn't do a duel with them, but they were here. Like, from Duel's Kingdom, we had Ghost Kozuka, we had Dinosaur Ryazaki, and then having Esperoba as our, like, new duel here was cool because he's very much so a Duel's Kingdom kind of person.
Yeah.
But getting him here. And the fact that we didn't hard shift into Duel's Kingdom rules for him like we did with Ryota Kajiki. And then we also had Haga as well. The Haga duel was probably one of my favorite in the series so far, honestly. That one was really good.
It's so well put together. Like, just in general, like, the duels are leveled up from Duel's Kingdom because everyone has more of a, like, idea around him. Like, we've gone from, Haga's, big power move in Duelist Kingdom. Part of it was the Cocoon of Evolution, but his other big move that everyone was talking about was he can summon Basic Insect and then put the armor on it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like, he has the Parasite and he has Insect Queen. Like, it just feels way more structured and cohesive, and, like, you can look at the cards and go, oh, this is a card that you could just, like, get in a blind pack and then figure out something to do with it. As opposed to, all of these cards were made for this exact duel.
Mm-hmm. Like, I would, again, comparing it to another series, say that a lot of the Duel's Kingdom fights were very similar to Black Clover Magic.
Okay, yeah.
It's an aesthetic, not a rule system, or here, it's not like Nin or stand battles or One Piece fights or anything like that, there's or MHA or anything. It's all about the aesthetic of how it looks, and then what it can do is just extrapolate it off of like what fits this aesthetic, rather than structuring, here's what my abilities are, which is way more like what Battle City is, introducing a character, here's their aesthetic, but also here's what their actual abilities are, and not just like their abilities are anything that fits that aesthetic.
Yeah, like just the fact that, again, apart from the Kajiki duel, every other time a monster shows up, it is like, okay, this monster has this effect, and like, the other duelists can just not say it has an effect and then reveal, like, by the way, this is its effect. But once they do that, it's consistent. It's never like, by the way, I also have lightning powers, or because it's psychic, it can read your monster's mind.
Yeah, like, there, especially like the Kaiba and Yugi tag team versus the two rare hunters on the top of the building that was going to explode. That was like really fucking satisfying in terms of the whole duel was. It was the first time really where I felt like I was able to predict stuff because the cards were already on the field, and the twists were you forgetting about what certain cards did, or like that, just that sort of thing. It was stuff that you could figure out yourself rather than twist pulls, like, I just pulled this card that's going to win us, and let me explain what that is. It is, we've already set up all these things on the field, and now, when we do, this attack or that attack, it will chain react to these effects.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what is satisfying of, like, because the card effects are just stated as they are, I haven't thought about this one chains off that one, which will cause this thing to do this thing. That's the most satisfying shit. We also got that a bit in the Haga duel as well, but the most extensive I felt it was in the Yugi and Kaiba versus those two hunters. That was like fucking, that was so good.
Yeah, like I love that we get more, like, Yugi's deck is still not like fully cohesive. Like, no one's deck is like, some of the villains have like very, this is my one thing I do deck, whereas the heroes are a little more varied in terms of like, I have this and also this and also this. But Takahashi does a better job of showing off the cards and getting you this feeling of like, okay, they had these cards in this duel, and they had this effect, and now how can we use that in a different way? Like, just the fact that Yugi, like, gets more into the idea of having a Black Magician deck, but also, I believe after he gets Slifer is when he starts using the Magnet Warriors. And when we first see the Magnet Warriors, you can see on the text, like, combines with the other Magnet Warriors to form a stronger being. And that doesn't come up until the fight on the rooftop. But because we've seen them, like, it's not weird to go like, okay, right, there is an alpha and a beta, and we've seen that a few times, and that doesn't really fit his aesthetic, but okay, I get it, they all come together, and because of that, he can do it without having to tribute. It's just, there's just more cohesion to it. And also, like, Yugi getting more tricky cards to kind of get across that, dark magician-y feel. Or Jonouchi getting more gamble cards, like, very clearly going from, my main thing is I just Time Wizard, to, I like just, having the dice cards, or, like, the roulettes, or all this other stuff, where it's very, like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but hopefully it does, and if it all lines up just right, I can get the win. It works so well.
Yeah. Two things I wanted to bring up there.
Please.
Like, that one, like, having the decks be like that is way more like, this is like an actual person's deck. This is like your deck, This is like you as a kid, Yugi's deck and Jonouchi's deck are closer to what yours are, It's a random selection of cards rather than like a very strict aesthetic. Also, I never thought about it, but like I've said it, Jonouchi's going towards a more like gambling deck. I think I was saying it is more like a percentages or chance and luck and all that. But I'm not sure if I thought about it as gambling, which is interesting, because I wouldn't say that's been a part of his character at all up to this point, other than the fact that, like, his father was, gambled all their money away. And I wonder if there's something there. I wonder if, Takahashi is doing something with that. Or, because, I wouldn't say that Jonouchi has had anything to do with his character with gambling up to this point.
No.
At all. And so it kind of comes out of nowhere, but it feels very fitting because he's just a very, like, happy-go-lucky character, so it kind of fits. And, he is very stupid and very, like, he just gets lucky a lot. So I can see it as that. The gambling is not quite the same. The only other thing I could think is that he went up against Keith, who had gambling-type stuff. So that kind of, like, maybe rubbed off on him a bit there. But it is interesting that, Keith is someone that he absolutely hated, and he was using gambling stuff, and then his father is somebody that he has a very bad relationship with, and his father lost all their money through gambling. It's interesting,
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see it. It is interesting.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that, like, we have this delineation of Yugi doesn't take cards from the people he beats, except for Slifer, which is that's a different case. That's a god card. Whereas Jonouchi has, like, taken a card from each of the people he's beaten, and that hasn't shown up too much, but it creates this distinction of like, this is a tournament with, like, actual like, getting stuff. And even in Duel's Kingdom, where that wasn't the rule, he also got Red Eyes that way.
Yeah. Also, I would say it's come up a lot in Battle City, actually. Like, it's been a big part of his thing has been, like, the infection card that, like, Haga put on him. He, like, forgot to take it out of his fucking deck, so it was in his deck for Ryota. And, like, I mean, that kind of stuff makes Jonouchi so fun as a character. It makes his duels so fun to watch, because he's not perfect. He makes stupid mistakes like that I would make.
And I do like that he has Jinzo now as his, like, kind of stand-in for Red Eyes, in the sense of, like, in the Ryota duel, he gets the big reaction of, like, what the fuck, you have Jinzo?
Yeah. He's got so many weird... I love that, though. I love it.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things where it doesn't fit the aesthetic of his deck, but because we know where it came from, it has this, like, strong emotional component to me, where every time he does it, I'm like, oh, I remember that duel!
Yeah. And Jinzo is I love Jinzo as a card. It's so cool.
So cool. It's actually very useful. It fits really well. Like, it's just generally a good card to have with the anti-trap effect.
Yeah. The doll was a really cool fight, like, having it actually be Yugi versus Merrick, but not with Merrick's deck is a cool fight to be got.
Yeah, it's also just, like, an interesting duel for like, both characters' strategies. The doll / Merrick's strategy being this, like, I'm going to have infinite cards, and I'm going to use this, like, 6-card combo to then get tons and tons and tons of cards in my hand, while also making it impossible for you to actually attack my monsters, while also putting you in this cage. Like, it's this really interesting, cohesive, like, lots of parts all being put together concept, and also the jams.
Yeah.
And then I remember as a kid just being so blown away by Dark Yugi's big strategy of, I can just do an infinite loop that will then deck you out. Like, that's so
to get that in a fucking manga is so cool.
Yeah, it's if we didn't have this duel, I don't think I would have ever guessed that that's a thing you could even do in the card game as a kid. Or, like, you can do it, but, like, no one would ever do it. That's not a strategy. It's just a thing that happens accidentally when you've done all your cards. Like, it genuinely shocked me so much seeing that for the first time. Is just like, a holy crap, you can do that, and you've created a strategy that in the moment that then completely hijacks Merrick's strategy and makes it the thing that's gonna kill him. Like, oh, it's so cool. I pogged so hard when you predicted it, because it's also completely predictable.
And, like, I was even, like, doubting myself, 'cause, like, they wouldn't do that in a manga. So much of this arc also to do with the god cards. Like, the language we use around that is fucking awesome. It's so hype.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna defeat God. This is a card with the power of God. You know, all that shit is amazing. It's so good every time. Every time. It's like the new gamer. You know, I loved whenever they would say gamer before, and now comparing everything to God is in a card game is the funniest and hypest shit ever.
Like, when I think of just, anime things that you can say, up there with, people don't die even if they're killed, or, people die when they are killed. Kaiba yelling, "Infinity is God's lie," stands out to me so much. It's so raw as a concept.
Love it. Kaiba, everything he says, he should be blushing when he says it.
That really is the aesthetic. Like, he's so cool because the things he say are so insanely chuny and cringe, but he says it so extremely straight-faced that you can't, like, call him out on it. Like, there's no, this is cringe, because it's like, no, it is cool. The way he's saying it is cool. Yeah. The way it is cool. It's cool when Yugi and Kaiba are walking down the streets and everyone's like, oh, we can't beat them in a card game.
Oh, that fucking moment is fucking awesome. The tag team, they're just walking down the street, beating everybody in their path, explosions happening. So fucking cool. But also, Kaiba is the kind of person who I could literally see him like screaming to Yugi in that match, like, Yugi, don't kill the part of you that cringes, kill the part of you, or don't kill the party that is cringe, kill the party that cringes. I could absolutely see Kaiba screaming at to Yugi. Alright, anything else you want to say about, like, these duels? Also, I want to say, I was talking about characters that were coming back. We also brought back Spider Nagumo from the beginning. That was fucking crazy.
Like, we see Obelisk beforehand, with, against the robots. But I think for, like, chapter 100 of Duelist, to have the big moment of, like, the way we introduce Obelisk in the tournament, just being this, like, Kaiba gives him all these cards. Like, also that being a contrast to when Kaiba first shows up and he has the suitcase full of cards and he's like, I'll give you all of these cards if you give me, your blue eyes. Yeah. To now him giving Spider Nagumo all of these rare cards and being like, yeah, make a deck and I'm gonna kill you. And then he makes a deck and beats Nago so hard that the guy he saved, like, the guy who Nagumo was bullying, rips up his rarest card and just, passes out, runs away while Nagumo passes out. It's the most, like, it's so scary, it's so hype, it's so wild.
We see an explosion from, like, we get a whole shot of the city and we can see an explosion in it. I love it. Kaiba's the fucking coolest.
How do you just work as a salaryman during this tournament? Like, you're gonna see God punch someone at some point.
Just right outside your window.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna be working your building and two masked guys are gonna set off explosions and fall down and die in the middle of your work area.
Yeah. Oh my god. I mean, just the people at the fucking, like, what the fuck is it called? Not an aquarium, but the show, like the water show or whatever.
Yeah, like a water park.
Like, they were like, what the fuck is going on? I love their reactions to that whole fight.
Yeah, like, I would be confused and annoyed that the two random people are just playing a game, but then by the time you get to the point where, you thought you were here to see a whale show, and now you're seeing a whale covered in guns, and there's a cat man that is flinging itself up in the air in order to ride on its back, but it spins it around, but then it's like, no, I'm gonna summon lightning to kill your giant whale full of guns.
There's a whole ocean there now, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are they even seeing it? The technology is unreal.
This technology is so goddamn crazy. just the fact that you can hide one of your cards in the pool, and like, I don't know how Kijiki was able to silently tell the legendary fisherman, hide in the pool and pretend to be, be on the orca there, so that way he won't know that I've hidden a card somewhere else.
Oh,
insane. Crazy.
Okay, anything else about these?
I think I'm done with these.
Was there any filler that happened in between these?
The only big one is, like, getting near the end of those, I believe we have a duel, like, we just see the duel, we see the duel where Dark Bakura fights Ghost Kijiki.
Okay, Kazuki.
Kazuki.
It's not Kazuki, right? It's Kozuka.
Kozuka. Oh my god. We got there.
I always say Kazuki, so I know why you're saying that. But I always fuck it up. It's not Kazuki, it's Kozuka.
Kozuka. Yeah. But yeah, that's not a like crazy big duel or anything. It's I think it's cool for just having it be a cult deck versus undead deck. Which feels
that was very cool.
Yeah, it's a funny distinction, but I think it helps hype up, like, oh, he's even creepier than the guy whose whole deal is being creepy, but it's not that hype, because he also sucks at dueling.
Did they do the duel that like when Kaiba and Yugi are walking down the street and those two guys say let's do a duel? We don't really see that duel. Did we get to did they do that as a whole thing?
No, they didn't.
Oh, very surprising.
Yeah, you'd think so, but no, it's like the manga where, like, we see the start of the duel, I believe. Like, I think they pull out their duel discs and all that, but then we just cut back and they've already been defeated and they're screaming, now no one can stop them!
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that, you wouldn't do that duel because their designs are almost identical to the actual tag team they do.
Yeah.
Like, you've got the really tall, skinny guy, you got the really short, fat, round guy. Like, they are same designs.
I'm pretty sure in reruns I kept on thinking that was the start of that duel.
I can see why, yeah.
Yeah, like just, because they also meet up with they lure them to the top of the rooftop, so I guess I kept on thinking of it as like, and now they're gonna lure them up to the rooftop. No, never mind, just beat their asses. Okay, never mind, there are two other guys that then lure them to the rooftop.
To be fair, we completely skipped over somehow the fact that they put a chastity belt on fucking Kaiba. A duelist chastity belt. And it goes on the dual disc, but they call it a belt. They specifically call it a chastity belt.
Dueling is a metaphor for sex.
It literally is. I mean, you can't get any clearer than that. I mean,
what's between Kaiba's legs has nothing. That's not his sex organ. His sex organ is his deck.
It really is. Is milling being unable to stop coming?
Oh no!
Okay, moving on to more gay shit. Yugi versus Jonouchi.
Oh yeah.
Now, I still hope we get them fighting in the actual tournament, because they addressed it in the manga as well too, but like they both want it, I want a match where they're actually fighting each other. Because I can say this is Yugi versus Jonouchi, but it really is Yugi versus Merrick again, for the fifth time.
Yeah.
I think that's also why I'm very excited for Kaiba versus Merrick or Kaiba versus Rishid, but I'm honestly not that excited for Yugi versus Merrick, simply because we've seen him fight Merrick 5 times now already.
Yeah, there's gotta be something else going on. Because also, we gotta really be sold on the fact that Merrick can duel now.
And I assume Merrick has to have either an evil side of him or a light side of him. Who I don't really know what, also we have the whole Namu thing going on, which is is Namu actually the light version of him, maybe? Or is he going to have an even darker version? I don't know. I do know that the anime already touched on that before going into the tournament and stuff like that. Maybe even from the very beginning. I don't know if that's an anime original thing. I don't know if it's even going to be in the manga. But I have to say I'm spoiled a little bit on knowing that he does have 2 souls in the anime at least.
Okay.
Like, specifically, you know, because I watched an AMV for the Yugi versus Jonouchi thing, but it had, it was more Merrick x Jonouchi focused, with, like, the good soul of Merrick wanting to stop the evil Merrick from marrying Jonouchi.
I see, yeah.
I'll play it here.
This day was going to be perfect, the kind of day of which I dreamed since I was small. Every pony would gather around, say I look lovely in my gown. What they don't know is that I have fooled them all. This day was going to be perfect, the kind of day of which I dreamed since I was small. But instead of having cake with all my friends to celebrate my wedding bells, they may not ring for me at all. I could care less about the dress, I won't partake in any cake. Vows to I'll be lying when I say that through any kind of weather I'll want us to be together. The truth is I don't care for him at all. No, I do not love the groom in before it's too late, find a way to save the day. Hope I'll be lying if I say I don't fear that I may lose him to one who wants to use him, not care for love and cherish him each day. For I also love the groom, all my thoughts he does consume. Oh, shining armor, I'll be there very soon.
But yeah, because I wanted to use it for a video, but I couldn't because it doesn't happen in the manga.
Right.
But yeah, so that whole arc with like the whole fight between Yugi and Jonouchi was very well done and very emotional in itself. Just the duel itself, you know, very emotional, very very like cool, going up against his deck with all these illegal cards and all that stuff. Like a kind of duel that we would never be able to do, you know, a different way. And going back into what the rare hunters are, you know, supposed to be about, all these illegal cards and fake printings and stuff like that, which we didn't really do since the first time. I mean, we kind of did with, like, oh yeah, the Dark Magician I have was a printed one. It's like, why? Who cares? Why? What does it need to be? Like, nothing felt, you know, like, oh, you shouldn't have this, other than the very beginning in this duel.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So yeah, but the duel itself, you know, great. But obviously the best part about all this is the ending, where Yugi confesses his love to Jonouchi. We get another, I gotta dive into the water to save, you know, somebody. Not another dive into the water thing, but another, like, oh no, my friend is dying and I have to save them in this, you know, situation.
So many parallels also to, like, you know, getting on the boat to Duelist Kingdom. Like, when I think of the boat to Duelist Kingdom, like, it by itself isn't that emotional to me. But, like, when I think back to this duel and this circumstance and just them talking about, like, this is where we got on the boat, like, that hits me so much more. They sell me on, like, the fact that it means something to them.
The boat definitely hit me the first time too, but that's also because, you know, I read Kaiji, so I have a lot of, like, I had a lot of expectation going into it.
Yeah.
But also, it, you know, paralleled back to the Jonouchi jumping in the water to get the puzzle piece when, you know, he was bullying Yugi and all that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tie back to a lot of stuff throughout the series.
like, it feels very, very climactic in an emotional sense. Because, yeah, this is also, I believe, the first time we ever see, like, a shot of him in the pool at school, like, getting the puzzle piece out, which I always think of as being in the first chapter, but it isn't.
Yeah.
Like, he's just soaking wet, or we barely even see that. It's just Grandpa saying that someone who was very wet showed up, and I think, like, maybe an outline of him.
Maybe, yeah, I think from the back or something, but yeah, I didn't think about that, but you're right, yeah, we never saw that.
There's a couple of differences in the anime. I'm not going to focus on a lot of them. Like, one of them is just, instead of having Anzu have a, like, poison pill in her lips, they instead have her just, like, standing underneath a giant metal crate that's going to fall on her.
Okay.
But
sure, why not?
We can't let the kids see a girl maybe about to take poison, but we can show them a girl getting crushed by a crate.
Yeah, sure. Any other changes to any of these duels that are interesting enough to bring up?
Not really. The biggest change that I can actually think about is at the very end of this duel, where, like, the way it's set up in the manga is, just as a quick recap, like, by the time Mai picks up everyone and they get to the docks, like, the drowning has already happened.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they speed things up a little bit in the anime. So when the car gets there, and Shizuka, like, the car gets there, Shizuka knows that her brother is there, and she takes off the bandage right as Jonouchi, like, Yugi, the duel is already over. Yugi's, like, killed himself, essentially. Jonouchi is grabbed onto the chain. Because of the way duels are set up in the anime, there's so much more space between them as well. Like, when he does this Tarzan swing, it's over such a big space. And Shizuka takes off her bandages, and the first thing she sees is Jonouchi swinging on this chain to go save his boyfriend.
Okay, I mean, cool. Hell yeah.
So this is not where it ends, though, because the chain goes down. They're going to die. Yugi, like, Jonouchi underwater saves Yugi. What is his name? Honda. Yeah, Honda jumps into the water to save Yugi because Yugi clearly, like, he's all limp. And then, instead of Kaiba, dropping down the key, Shizuka instead grabs the key and then jumps into the water and dives down to save Jonouchi.
Okay. Also, that's bad. Even I know you shouldn't jump into the water with the key. Drop it. The key's gonna sink faster than you are.
Mm-hmm.
But also, to be fair, I take it back a bit, because at least if you're going down with them, then you can hand the key to them as opposed to they might miss it.
Yeah, like, Kaiba was just waiting to see if Jonouchi was about to die.
Yeah, Kaiba was an asshole there. I'm not saying Kaiba did a better idea, but, like, holding the key there and waiting. But
yeah. But yeah, they play it as a very hard, like, this is the climax of all that courage being built up. Like, Shizuka has accepted the courage. She takes off her bandage without having to, like, directly talk to Jonouchi. Like, yeah, it's not even seeing Jonouchi save Yugi. It is, before that, knowing that he is there, knowing that he's fighting. And then, she takes that courage and then saves him using that, and then, helps him get back up.
See, if I was writing this, I would have had Mai drive the car into the water.
Oh. But yeah, everything else is more or less the same. Like, there's a bit of filler here and there, but, nothing crazy enough to actually talk about.
Yeah, nothing funny. So, like, this arc had a lot to do with death. Was all that still in the, anime, or did they change any of that stuff? Like, the building blowing up, like, the building was going to blow up and they were going to fall down. Or Pandora having his,
Oh, yeah.
Either one of them going to have their legs cut off, or the fucking guy killing himself. Merrick making him kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 people killed themselves.
Oh, this is where the Shadow Realm really kicks into high gear.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Which, that is a thing in the manga, kind of, and in the anime as well. Honestly, like, there's definitely more, like, weird shit going on because of all the stuff they add in. Like, back in Duelist Kingdom, for instance, like, when Pegasus starts the Shadow game, he also makes, like, a big bubble of darkness around them, and when Yugi's friends, like, run into the bubble on one side, they come out the other side. Like, there's a lot more just, like, weird shit going on. So, as a kid, I didn't think anything of it when, you know, one of Merrick's main powers is, if you displease me, I'll simply send your soul to the Shadow Realm instantly if I'm possessing you.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think anything of it either.
Yeah, it's just like, you can't separate it from death. And in the Pandora thing, like, it's arguably, like, the Pandora thing is the one that people talk about constantly. That one is, of course, the duel itself is, Pandora's built these Shadow Realm energy discs. And when the disc touches your leg, your soul will be sent to the Shadow Realm.
Oh my god. Oh my
god. You can't saw off someone's legs, that's insane.
Holy fuck, that's the stupidest thing ever. That might be. I can't believe you weren't going to mention that. That's the dumbest fucking thing we mentioned so far.
Oh, thank you.
Shadow.
I forgot about that. Or I didn't forget. I'll never forget about it. But yeah, I was almost going to just skip by that. Because it also, like, it takes some of the air out of Yugi saving Pandora, because it is this hard, like, well, you stopped his soul from going to the Shadow Realm, and so I'm gonna send his soul to the Shadow Realm.
I mean, to be fair, in the manga, he saved his legs, so now he's gonna die.
Yeah. It's kind of a wash. It's fine.
It is so interesting that Pandora is the only one that gets a name out of all the rare hunters that we fight.
Oh yeah, even the masks, I guess, are just like White Mask and Dark Mask.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody gets a name except for Pandora.
Mm-hmm.
So weird. But,
there's, right, of course, on the building, that's also the Shadow Realm.
Wait, they have a Shadow Realm portal underneath them?
The Shadow Realm is underneath them, and so when the glass breaks, you'll fall into the Shadow Realm. This does make the parachute thing make no goddamn sense.
Yeah.
Because in the dub, I don't believe Merrick even says, I killed that guy, who falls down. It is just, he fell into the Shadow Realm, which makes sense. Like, it feels more like an almost atheist thing.
Yeah.
Like, the way they play it off is, he thought the parachute would save him, but of course it didn't, because parachute or not, you're gonna go to the Shadow Realm. And they do still, like, show him on the ground floor, like, dead from the parachute, as a clear, like, they're fine with showing a lifeless body that hasn't been, like, physically harmed. It's honestly maybe a little worse, because then it also kind of, like, shows the big drop as well, as opposed to a, like, general, you were just gonna go into a portal, it was fine. This is confirming that, no, you're gonna fall a long way down, and then go to the Shadow Realm.
Oh my god. Were these changes made in the Japanese anime, or is this a 4Kids thing?
Oh, this is 4Kids.
Because half of them, I'm like, how do you even do this? How do you manipulate the anime so much to do this?
Something that really confused me as a kid is that, like, the Japanese anime does censor things and tone things down. There's, like, less death in it, and then on top of that, you have 4Kids. And so constantly I would hear stuff about, like, in the original Japanese. People would never talk about the anime and manga at this point. It was always the original Japanese. So I would hear something like, in the original Japanese, like, obviously also, people would just lie. That's also a bonus. There would be stuff like, like in the original Japanese, Pandora gets his legs cut off, and then I, read the manga and it doesn't even happen, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe 4Kids censored the manga.
Oh, there's so much in the... Like, One Piece has that, too, with 4Kids, way back in the day, when there was so much, in the manga, this thing, Luffy shot somebody in the head. And it's like, no, that doesn't happen. What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah. it doesn't help that also, like, for One Piece and Yu-Gi-Oh, like, Viz just decided separately to be like, oh, well, we see what 4Kids is doing, and so we're gonna kind of lean into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not all the way, but a little bit. Like, we're not gonna edit the panels, but, you know, like, we're gonna use the translation things, or, like, we're gonna have random people do pirate speak.
Yeah. I mean, they also just do weird shit, like they translated Pegasus' name in 2 different ways.
Yeah, like... The 2 different ways thing, I believe, is them trying to find this middle ground of we're going to use the dub name, but also
before. We talked about it. I hate it.
Yeah, I can understand the potential, like, oh, this feels more natural than if we just have a page saying this is what we're doing. But also, like, we still have the end of every book in the Duelist that is just like, hey, and by the way, here's all the translation changes. It's like,
yeah, like, we don't need it.
Yeah.
I
will say, by the way,
get my reaction for the Jonouchi versus Yugi thing. By the way, go watch my reaction to that. It's a great reaction. I fucking the confession. Fully was not expecting it. Can't believe I'm reading a like shonen ass fucking manga. Fucking WSJ. Like it's the most shonen-y kind of shonen, and we just straight up have the male main character saying "I love you" to his best friend.
Yeah. Oh. And of course, it is the Aish Teru, I love you. It is the there's always the debate of like, oh well, they said I love you, but is this the I like you, I love you, or the I love you, I love you? And like, no, this is the I love you, I love you.
Yeah, it is Aish Teru.
Yeah. If people are watching this and they're not on your Patreon, I will also say it's gonna sound insane because, you know, how do I put this? Obviously, we have a very personal connection, but separate from that, I do think these reactions are the most banger shit in the world. They're so good.
Thank you. I think they're good too. You know, you gotta be proud of what you make. I think they're fantastic reactions. But yeah, I will never get over it. It's crazy to me that like the series is already so insanely gay, but it's so like coded gay. So to see it like just be straight out like acknowledged in the text, no qualms, no, you know, subtlety or like, you know, oh, you could take this to mean I love you as a friend or, you know, anything like that. It's the most straightforward I love you in a romantic way. Like they really couldn't get more clear unless they literally said I love you in a romantic way. It's
I've been so excited for you to get there since you started these reactions, and part of that is that, you know, just that, you know, that feeling in the heart of going like, oh, you have no idea how far this is gonna go. Because I also, you know, when Takashi Sensei passed away, a lot of people were like posting their favorite like panels, their favorite moments, and that one came up a lot.
I can imagine.
And a lot of people, you know, brought it up in that context of, like, from chapter 1, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very queer, but by the very nature of it being in Jump and being very much a, you know, thing for kids that's, you know, still very creepy and scary and occult and mature, like, you still wouldn't expect... Yeah, there's this constant feeling a lot of people have of, like, Takahashi doesn't know what a chastity belt is, though, right? Like, he doesn't know what the spikes are for. He doesn't know what it means when you make a monster... When you have a monster and the monster's made of leather.
I thought Takahashi might not know what a gay person is, but I didn't think he doesn't know what a chastity belt is, or bondage gear, or a choker. Which I also think Yugi is a great example of kink is not always sexual. You know, kink is just a thing. It has nothing to do with, you know, being sexual or otherwise. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an extremely kink-focused series. It is one of the most kink-based series I've ever seen, and that includes plenty of, like, straight-up loot shit, too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this series is infinitely more kinky than Prison School.
God damn, that I think you're right, but that is such an insane, you know, statement. But it is a correct statement.
More sexual, obviously. It's extremely sexual and lewd, but it's not more kinky.
Right.
And yeah, I think that is an aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! That I absolutely love, is, you know, how focused on kink culture it is.
Yeah, like it's like a very Yeah, it's a very distinctive choice, specifically to have, like, little Yugi prior to any spirit stuff, like, have the choker and the binder and all that. Like, that's such a clear, like, that's part of this person's aesthetic, and you're supposed to know at the very start that this is the most innocent person in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, yeah, like, Dark Yugi doesn't really turn it up that much. It is very much like, this is Yugi's aesthetic, and he thinks it's cool, and, Dark Yugi also likes it. And, everyone has this general also, like, not everyone, but, a lot of characters have that vibe of, I also really like this aesthetic.
Like, Yugi is very into the kink fashion, versus Dark Yugi is more into goth fashion, actually. But, like, I do think there's a distinction there. Dark Yugi hasn't shown, like, he has not, like, upped any of the kink, fashion on Yugi's, clothes or attire or anything like that. It's always been Yugi himself who has added that aspect of it, and it's Dark Yugi who always wants the more goth kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Or, like, very flamboyant stuff, like the giant onks on his arm.
Oh, yeah, the honks.
But yeah, so I absolutely love this about this series, and yeah, I just it's so good. It's so gay.
Also, I don't know when else I would say this, so I just want to say I really like Yugi's, like, Battle City look compared to his Duelist Kingdom look. Like, it's so he's still wearing the same jacket and all that, but, like, changing out the like the leather, the thing on the Millennium Puzzle. Oh yeah. Like,
that. I thought you were talking about the leather onesie.
I mean, that for sure. Like, having shoes now
having shoes, wearing pants, I'm glad.
He figured out how to wear clothing after Duelist Kingdom.
Yeah. But again, that was Dark Yugi who designed his outfit for him. Yugi was the one who designed the full leather fucking onesie gimp suit that had no shoes, or he's wearing shoes, but it's inside his pants that are like this tight fucking, like, not leather like a leather jacket, but leather like a gimp suit leather.
Yeah.
Like rubbery leather. And it's like, that was Yugi's outfit. Dark Yugi was like, no, let's wear jeans and shoes. It's like, once again, saying Dark Yugi influenced it like Kink in him is absolutely not true. But yeah, I'm so glad he changed, because it's a manga, and yet I couldn't not hear the squeak every time he moves and shit.
Aw, yeah.
So, I guess that's it, basically.
Yeah. Before they get to the blimp, there's also a filler fight with Mai.
Okay. But I mean, that was in the manga, but I'm assuming they made it longer.
I believe so. Like, I don't actually remember how much of it was in the manga, but basically she fights a ninja man who comes from Hollywood who wants to marry her.
Okay, yeah, that was not in the manga. And to be fair, you said that was after Yugi vs. Jonouchi?
Yeah.
How the fuck does that happen?
The way like, they know where the locator is sending them, and then I don't remember how this guy shows up. I mean, he shows up from, like, a helicopter or something. Like, he flies in like a ninja.
Does he jump out of Kaiba's helicopter? Did Kaiba have a ninja?
No, it's a different helicopter, I believe.
Two helicopters, okay.
But yeah, like, he shows up right at the very end, and Mai's already, like, qualified to enter, but he pulls a big, like, alright, if you win, then nothing happens. If I win, then I'll take your place in the finals, and also you have to marry me. And for some reason, Mai's like, okay, sure. I don't know why she accepted this.
I don't know why. That feels so out of character.
Yeah, no one likes this duel.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the Mai duel before, they got in the car and went down.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think who was she facing? Because I thought we knew who that was. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just a generic person.
Yeah. But yeah, that fight wasn't expanded. Again, there's so few expanded fights.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not. I really thought there was going to be way more filler in Battle City. But all of it was like at the beginning before we even got into Battle City.
Mm-hmm. I do think that actually does, like, really influence the aesthetic of the series. Like, also, going forward, there's going to be, like, another filler arc or 2 or 3, but those are filler arcs. Whereas, like, in the actual canon stuff, like, it's expanded a little bit. Or, like, some duels have, like, extra moves put in to, like, do a cool scene or something. But they're really, really not, like, bloated in any way.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Like, I remember as a kid, again, like, it's part of the reason why Yu-Gi-Oh! Was so big, because, Pokemon's, more exciting because you like the games and the characters and all that. Digimon is cool, but those are both so bloated.
Yeah.
Whereas Yu-Gi-Oh! Almost every time you watch an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! It feels like an event. It's like, oh my god, we're doing this fight, or we're doing this fight. There's so little this doesn't matter.
Like, made every duel as an event, basically.
Oh yeah, like you've used some of those in the reactions where like they would just have like a big banner that would just be like, we're doing this, or this is the fight of the millennium, or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it really made like every time they did new episodes, it felt big, and every time they did old episodes, it was still like, I remember how hyped this was originally, or I didn't get to see this one because whatever was happening on that day, so now I get to see it. Oh my god.
Yeah.
They did such a good job of hyping up Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, for all the downsides, for all the censorship and other such nonsense, I gotta admit, they did some pretty cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry, I just got interrupted from my brain. Oh, no! My train of thought went somewhere else.
But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so insanely good and iconic as its own thing, like the way Takahashi intended, and then you truly can't talk about it without talking about all the changes, and, some of them were good, some of them were bad, but they're also insanely iconic in their own right. Like, you could just go down the street and talk about the Shadow Realm, and so many people would meet to go like, oh, right, Yu-Gi-Oh!, right? Yeah, no one dies in that, they just go to the Shadow Realm, that's insane.
Shadow Realm has become a thing outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. Like, it's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah. Also, actually, one thing I do want to state, I was going to say this during the previous Shadow Realm thing, is for Yugi versus Jonouchi, they do not bring up the Shadow Realm, even in, the 4Kid stuff. They do just, like, they don't say you're going to die, but they keep on talking about how, like, it'll drag you into the ocean. It's very clear implied, like, this will kill you. This is not a magic thing. Like it is Malik wanting to kill both of them by having them be dragged into the water or making Yugi kill his best friend. Like, as far as they go
for that arc.
Yeah, because again, like, I think after the mask thing, where there's no essential difference, like the one person who does fall down had a parachute, they could have just said, like they could have easily had it be a lethal thing and then show like, no, it's not lethal. To do that, like, it does blow me away that they didn't just say you're going to be dragged into the Shadow Realm water.
Yeah, that's a good point. But again, I'm glad they had the restraint.
Yeah, like, again, that's part of why, even with all the changes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Felt like, watching something that was for the cooler kids, for someone that's just very slightly older than I was back at the time. It still had enough of an edge and enough of a aesthetic and enough of a, like, they were able to keep in it just enough for it to be good without completely making it a baby show.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, something I was going to bring up in terms of the 4Kids, like, events and everything like that. This is also around the time where I can't find those anymore because it's switched from 4Kids or WB Kids or whatever to Toonami, which feels very fitting also with Battle City.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Duelist Kingdom is very 4Kids. Battle City, I would say, is very Toonami. Like, they're kind of two different audiences.
I can see that. And yeah, that does also line up with, like, the manga, continuing to go, and, presumably, I'm not saying this from, like, articles or anything, but, a lot of manga does that, where, like, it grows up a little bit with the audience.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Okay, so they go to the stadium. Like, I thought it was a super cool idea for a final fight location to be a stadium that's under construction. I've never seen that before. Like, a stadium, obvious, duh. But a stadium under construction still is such a fun idea. And then, nope, that's just where the blimp is. That's just where we're gathering. So we get on the blimp, and then the blimp isn't even the first stage. Like, it is, but the blimp's also going somewhere, they keep saying.
Yeah.
So, And then that's also only the first round or the first whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm blown away by how many locations we're going to be getting for this finale, and like how above and beyond Takahashi goes with everything.
Seriously. And something that a lot of people don't catch is when Kaiba is announcing, like specifically in the panel at the start of the arc, when he is saying, the location that the locator cards will point to is, undisclosed, but I forgot how he phrased it. It's not that.
Yeah.
When he says that, there is a big, classic Takahashi doom, but the double O's are the Blimp.
What?
Hmm.
Oh my god. I gotta go back and look at that. Oh my god, that's crazy.
It is the most, in the moment, you just, you don't think about it. And then as soon as you know what it is, you go back, it's like, oh my god, how did I not notice this? This is the most obvious thing in the world.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, I can't fucking believe that. Any questions you want to ask me about, like, predictions or anything like that? Again, go watch my reactions if you want to get my predictions for, like, what I think every single one of the duels is going to be, and stuff like that. Because we don't have a roster, which is like a bracket system, which is very interesting. Like, I was totally not expecting that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, I don't know where I was going with that. Just, what predictions do you have that I didn't say in my reaction or anything?
Something I'm curious about. You don't have to go into like intense detail or anything, but for Ishizu, for Rashid, and for maybe Merrick, if you have any ideas, like what kind of decks or like gimmicks do you think they're gonna go with? Like, do you have any ideas?
Ishizu has this sort of like, her Millennium item seems to allow her to see into the future a bit. So I'm guessing she has a lot of fortune telling, a lot of like prediction based stuff. Something like, she would just use Magic Hat, but she would be able to know, what it's specific. Like if somebody else used Magic Hat, she would know what I'm not sure exactly what it would be, but that's kind of what I'm imagining. Something to do with this, with that, I don't know, seeing in the future, sort of predicting stuff.
Makes sense.
Then Merrick, we've seen so much of, him, like other people having decks and him fighting through them, that it's hard to say like what his will be specifically. I'm going to guess that his is going to be just very big creatures. Like, I don't think he's going to focus a lot on like specific strategy stuff. I think he's going to focus a lot on like, I just have massive creatures, and it's hard to predict, so we still don't know what his god card does, correct?
Yeah, we don't know anything about it besides like the name. Yeah.
So like that will definitely will tell me about that, like once I get that, it'll be easier to predict. But like, for right now, I'm gonna guess just big cards, but a specific style.
Yeah,
because it's also it'd be so easy to say for all three of them, just like Egyptian stuff. But
because also, I will say, like, do you think he's going to duel as Merrick, or do you think he's gonna duel as Namu?
It's a good point. He'll probably duel as Namu. Like, I was imagining Rishid's gonna duel first, and then he'll duel as himself. Or maybe he'll go first, and then it'll be the big surprise, once they trust him, he'll, swap and be like, haha, I'm Merrick, now die. But yeah, so, if it's Namu, I don't, Okay, I'm gonna throw out some weird guesses that just like, there's no way to predict it based off of personality or anything like that, I don't think. Okay. Remind me what Baccaras is again? Like, what is it? Poltergeist is what it is?
It's been described as an occult deck.
Occult deck, and the other guy was Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Okay. We kind of already did zombies and stuff like that, but I'm thinking maybe zombies from Eric.
I can see that.
The Gravekeeper, skeletons, maybe. I'm gonna go with skeletons. I'm gonna go with skeletons, decayed, monsters, stuff like that.
Makes sense.
If I can get a second guess, I'm gonna say
please.
Elephants.
Oh, elephant deck.
I don't know why, but elephants. Rishid is going to be bombs.
Bombs.
Explosions. I'm trying, he has this very, assassin energy. Ooh. But we've already done guns. And I can't picture him with guns. But I can picture him having, this explosion, cool guys don't look at explosions sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
And it's just he has this very intimidating atmosphere to him. So I can, what's scarier than a fucking bomb?
Mm-hmm.
It's very aggressive energy. Very aggro.
I can see that for sure.
And then Ishizu, if I can say a specific, seeing in the future and stuff like that, but if I have to give an aesthetic, I am going to go aesthetic of fortune teller. That's different from Dark Magician and magic and stuff like that. Fortune telling. Magic crystal balls and gems and stuff like that. Ooh. Candles.
Yeah, I think that's a good guess.
Mm-hmm. Is there anybody else? We know everybody else's deck, right?
We don't know exactly what Bakura's deal is, apart from a cult deck. But
it's an occult deck. I think an occult deck is going to just be a lot of that's ghosts and zombies, and that's why it's I'm not super sold on zombies for Merrick. Mm-hmm. Honestly, elephants and I'm gonna go with desert animals actually for Merrick. I don't know why.
Okay. But it fits. I could see that.
Something to do with the motorcycle. It could be a more mechanic deck. I don't know why it would be that, but no. Okay. I'm gonna go with Merrick. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be prison containing chains, cages, that sort of thing. Confinement. A guard essentially.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds... Yeah. Oh, I like that. And
yeah, Bakura occult deck, so a lot of ghosts, maybe not zombies, but ghosts, demons maybe, something like Zork and stuff like that, Yeah, that would make sense to me. It's very occult. I don't feel like I have to make a guess about it very much, just...
Yeah.
Occult rather than horror. I think everybody gets that.
Yeah, as Takahashi himself said, when he's designing the cards for a person, he thinks about the shape of their soul. I think that's why, aesthetic to me sounds like a better thing than trying to grill you on well, what exactly mechanically do you think the cards are going to do? That's not guessable.
Yeah, I know you're going for aesthetic, but yeah, so that's my guess for those three. Bakura's obvious, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's it. Also, I did see the fucking Blimp in the Doom, which I will say, he's done just the DM as a just Doom before, which is why I didn't notice it, but I think it's gotta be, either way, even if it's not in the Doom there, you can see the Blimp when he's saying it's a secret, but it's somewhere within the city limits.
Yeah, that's more the big, the riddle of it. Which building is this going to be? Is it one of these? No, it's not any of the building. It's the Blimp.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, so cool.
Yeah. The Blimp shows up again later on, and you brought it up in one of the reactions, and that made me go oh, you said the thing! Sometimes you just want someone to say the thing, even if there's no context.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you have any guesses as to where they're going with the Blimp?
Honestly,
just aesthetically.
No, I truly can't think of a place that would be cool to bring a Blimp in a city. So I honestly don't have a prediction. My prediction for a future round is volcano. We're going to volcano.
Oh.
I'm sticking with my guess. There's gonna be a fucking volcano fight. But as for where the Blimp's going for the first round, I don't know.
Okay.
I can't think of any place that's cooler than just a Blimp by itself. And we've seen the Duel place on top of the thing, so it's not like we're going to another place and we're gonna get off the Blimp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Domino City has, like, a sky tower sort of thing, maybe something like that, like going around that, or I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, no real guess.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think we done now.
Yeah, I think we done. That was my last big thing.
I'm excited for the tournament. Can't wait to get into it and see. Our first thing that I know we're getting into is Yugi versus Bakura. Can't believe we're doing that already. That's fucking crazy to me because I thought we were going to hold off on that. I'm still staking my claim that Bakura's going to be our final villain. Doesn't necessarily mean that he can't get beaten immediately here, but they've just been building up a lot in Battle City, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. We'll see you guys for the next one. Go check out my reactions on the Patreon below. $4 a month. Go check them out. Get on there for 1 month, binge them all. You know?
They slap. They're genuinely really great.
We'll see you guys for the tournament thing. Till then, check out... I'm saying the same thing again. Get the fucking leave.